And then we got Candy Withrow Passmore. What are y'all's thoughts on Herman pulling 3 classes in Mississippi States next weekend? And then she has quotes. Hey, I don't pull in the USA, but when I do, I pull 3 classes. Doesn't he also have a super match?
He has a super match with Paul, and he has a super match with Sean, I believe.
Because I saw him asking, and this
Sean,
has to be a promotional scheme of some kind, asking if there's a weight limit on our match. Yeah. Something that should be discussed on the side, but they're videoing each other and posting it on Facebook. And Herman is really 255?
No, he's not. But
I was going to say, if he's weighing that, that's crazy.
No, the sport's just a better place when Herman's pissed at white people. It just always is. When he's hungry and fired up, it's a cool place to be. No, I think he's about 220.
So him and Paul would be. Are they pulling right or left-handed?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So Paul's his arm. He's super strong, and he's kind of a catching arm wrestler. He kind of looks a little bit like Todd Hutchins when he catches and brings with a broke back wrist.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be an interesting match. I think that if Paul can stop him, then it's done. But I don't know. Herman's got a good pronation with the top roll, so that'll be an interesting match for sure.
I think stylistically it favors Herman because Herman's most of his powers on the attacking side. Paul's on the defensive side. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it means it's probably the brakes are going to go on. It's going to be a grinding match. But mechanically speaking, technically speaking, I like Herman. But I mean, Paul will stop the match, and it won't be easy. That's something to look forward to. Be a good match to watch.
And you got Cole Holiday here. Kody says for the match with Bryce, he says I'll put $200 up for Kody if that match happens. So right on.
So Cole's an idiot. Let me just say this right now. that guy put he took a bet on this tournament, this match tomorrow. He put $100 against 60. I think were the odds on me, and I just want to lose just so he has to pay $100. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. He's a good friend, and he's really overconfident in me, and I don't know why. But I'm never a betting person because I always get slapped in the face when I start being mouthy and cocky. So I don't know. He's a good dude. I would keep your money. Don't bet on me because then I feel pressure too.
Yeah.
So. Kody, we got a sponsor on the show, and it's ReadyGo.ca, so a Canadian company. They sell apparel and like phone cases and all kinds of other stuff, and it's pretty cool. I'm wearing one of their shirts right now.
I actually noticed
the old Man Strength T-shirt.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty cool.
They give us a $40 coupon code for their website for everyone to spend every month, and the contest is based on the questions. So you want to dive into a couple of the questions we received.
Sure.
Between the last show and this show, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, we have our number one fan, and our number one fan, I believe, is Constant Incel who just can't get laid. That's his name. I'm sure it's not on his birth certificate, but he sent us a couple of questions. Okay. Now, here is the first question he has sent us. Could Tony Katowski, Sam Harris, or RVJ ever come in first at World Arm Wrestling Championship, WAF, or Zloty Tour Championship? Apologies if any of them already have.
Man, that's a good question.
So it's Tony, Sam, and who was the third?
RVJ.
Okay.
That's a... you guys think about it for a little while. I don't know if... that's a tough one.
Nah.
And Zloty Tour is a different animal altogether. Wow.
I've never been to Zloty. I've been to WAF twice last year, but it was like 18 years in between the two times, and all I can really relate to is what I saw last year, and unfortunately, I never really pay a lot of attention to the little guys until it gets to the finals, and then even I don't really that much. So I don't know if I'd be good for that, but I know that, like everybody says, that RVJ is built to be an arm wrestler, just his features, his physique. Sam's pretty cunning with the strap on, and he does great things there. And Tony also, for his size, is a monster. I don't know, but those Europeans, they know how to train for sure.
One of the intangibles about WAF, and I'm not making an allegation, I'm not saying anything about any one of these guys, but it is something to consider when someone's going to WAF or the IFA, is the level of doping control that they have over there certainly has an effect on guys. So I'm not saying any of these guys are using anything, but there are many, many considerations when you're preparing for that. And I even know some guys that have asked me about TRT, older guys that are doing testosterone replacement therapy, and I have no idea if that's would affect them going over to the World Championship or not. And you have to be careful on other things, because the WAF testing is quite stringent. Like, you can be busted for things that you didn't even know were illegal. So, yeah. I mean, that is what it is. That being said, I mean, if you just took the skill level of, and this would be an easier question to answer after the next WAL, but I think RVJ has the tools to mix up any of those tournaments. I think he could even possibly come out on top in his class over there. And I definitely think that the other two guys, I mean, whoever wins that next week, I think would be the guy to throw in the mix over there as well. And I think they could potentially come out on top of WAF or Zloty. They are top guys, and I think that with their styles, they can adapt to a different rule set quite easily.
Sam did say on the last interview I listened to him, he did say that he really prefers the WAL setup, and he's really good at it. So that might be a determining factor for him at WAF, because it's a completely different setup that he might not like as much.
Right.
Sam's a runner. That's why he likes Wall. They're all fours. RVJ, the higher of the fours. The problem is when you go to Eastern Europe, whether it's WAF or whether it's Zloty, you can't run away from the arm. It goes to the arm. Maybe you can get through a couple of preliminary rounds, but once you start getting to the quarter or even close to the quarterfinals, you need a hook. Sam doesn't have a great hook. Sam, out of all three of them, I give the lesser of the chances. Tony, if it's a 165, 176, well, Zloty's a 171, which is probably perfect for him. Depending on how his water cut goes, potentially he can be better at 171 than RVJ at 198. Tony's a little bit better in the setup and a little bit quicker. RVJ's a little bit slower. If I had to put money on one of them being in their ideal weight class, I almost might bet on Tony over RVJ. But both are arm heavy, and both I can easily see finishing top three. Winning, man, you don't see too many North Americans under the super heavyweight class win. You see in the heavyweight classes only because Eastern European monsters tend to be top rollers. The bigger, huge men, giants, tend to be top rollers. I think because of the table dimensions, it's not ideal for hooking. So being a great top roller coming out of North America, like you guys, you fare better than a really good arm wrestler at 205. RVJ, Tony, depending on the day, depending on the matchup, depending on the draw, they can easily finish in the finals or top 3-4, but I don't see either of them winning.
Right, we got another question, same guy. So, could Paul Talbot be the best pound-for-pound left-handed arm wrestler in North America?
I'm assuming that's at a 198-pound class, right?
So, pound-for-pound, basically, for the size of him, is he dominant enough that you could consider him the best? And, pound-for-pound can be defined a few different ways. One of them is that you're dominant in your own class, and if they stuck you in the class above, you would be very competitive as well. Gobby, you look like you're in pain.
No, I'm just it's my pensive look. I'm just pondering my...
You're pondering your response.
Yeah.
I believe he could be. I mean, definitely you can make an argument for it. I mean, pound for pound is all speculative, so...
which makes it also interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
The problem with Paul, he was once a 165 guy that can pull with 198 guys. Then he gained weight, and he was a 187 guy that can pull with 205-pound guys. He's in the conversation. His left is definitely in the conversation. But I mean, Todd can go up a weight class and be stronger than his opponents. Speaking of Todd Hutchins, I think Todd Hutchins is the best clear-cut pound-for-pound arm wrestler in North America. After that, you have a second tier of maybe 5-6 guys, and in that tier, Paul Talbot's in that second tier.
Right.
I don't. He's going to go to Worlds this year, so we'll find out how he does.
Really,
left-handed there. So he is going. He qualified, and as far as I know, has been planning on going. So.
Okay.
That might answer a lot of questions, how he does over there, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
He won nationals easily. Like, nobody even gave him a match in nationals. So.
Oh, he's a stud. There's no doubt about that. Yeah.
See, I haven't seen a pound-for-pound guy that, answers or checks all the boxes. So in mixed martial arts, you have a guy like GSP who, went up for one fight in the next class and instantly was the champion after a long layoff.
Yeah, but he was given that match was that guy was over the hill and it was a poor matchup style. I'm not a GSP fan. Guy's a fucking runner. He's a running top roller of the MMA, except worse because he gets a couple points and then he's running all over the ring and avoiding punches.
Are you even Canadian?
He actually, I'm from Montreal and so was he. I used to live near TriStar Gym where he trained. Just don't like guys that have. I was a Hendricks fan. Like, I like guys that go into fights and like Fedor is 10 times the fighter McGregor and GSP are, in my opinion. He's a fucking warrior. These guys are evasive, crafty runners that are highly skilled. Not the same type of person. Anyway, we're going off track.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that left-handed pound for pound. I weigh 385 pounds. That's a lot of pounds. That should mean something, right?
Well,
that's a disadvantage. That means we're not in the conversation at all.
Which is also the pound for pound. It builds speculation and it's always good for debate. But to be honest, it's a little bit of, and I'm a smaller guy, but it's a bullshit argument in a way because who in a fight, like we talk about MMA, we talk about arm wrestling, but really. And this is coming from a 165 guy, 170 guy. People all want to know who the baddest guy in a room is. I had this conversation with RVJ. I personally want to know who the best. If the best arm wrestler at like WAF is a 143 Engen Terzi, and he comes to he's pulling, I'll go to the washroom. But when the 350 pound Goliaths are pulling, I tend to want to know who the strongest man in the room is, whether it's MMA, whether it's boxing, or whether it's arm wrestling. So the pound for pound thing is kind of fun because it brings every human being into the equation, into the argument, whether you're 100 pounds and what happens is as you get smaller, you can do more chin-ups, you can do more cool stuff in the gym because you have less body weight. And what happens with a lot of lighter people is they have less competitors in their weight class, 121, 132. Will Sardi ran through Canadians for a decade, two or three guys in his weight class every year, but he ran up the medals, gold medals year after year. So he's a pound for pound stud, yes, but I don't know. I think you have to look at it a couple of ways, but I do believe the pound for pound thing is fun to talk about, but at the end of the day, it's really bullshit.
Next one, we got Philippe Galvin. Do you think that a team arm wrestling league would be beneficial to the sport? Kind of like how MMA had different leagues pop up where each team would have one guy in each weight class. At the end of each season, there would be individual titles and team titles. Rather than have a long tournament, there would be a season and more time to highlight individual pullers and characters. What are your thoughts on a team league? So we have dipped our toe in the water as a sport of arm wrestling in this, just with the concept being like Game of Arms, or even Travis was having, or wasn't it? Travis was doing some team type stuff down in the States, and when he's talking about MMA having this, I think about the International Fight League, which was teams of 5, and they all trained under one coach, and they would get together and have these fight cards where it was individual fights, but also a team event. So what do you think how would that translate over to arm wrestling?
Go ahead, Kody.
Well, I think that the thing that Travis was doing, it was a 3-weight team, and he's actually starting it again this next season with his, I think it's called NAL, National Arm Wrestling League.
Yeah.
And it's basically you got a super heavyweight, a middleweight, and a lightweight, and they have 4 or 5 teams, and whoever gets the most wins, that team wins money or whatever they're giving away. I actually think it's a cool idea. Unfortunately, mostly it's done right-handed, and nobody'd want me on their team. So, but I like the idea. I think it's cool that if you travel with a team of guys, go state to state and just kind of team Utah or team whatever. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
It adds another dimension, I think, that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And we do this actually at our provincial championships. So it's a team points system where you get 5 points for first place, 4 for second, and so on. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, there's also a team award that goes out to everybody. So it just adds a different dimension to it. And
they do the same thing at nationals and all of the big tournaments. You can put a team together and compete as a team, but it's not necessarily as a state. It's just whoever you want on your team, and you enter in the team class. Yeah. So, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
Gabi, what do you think? Waste of time or something that could be...
No, anything that's different, anything that's sometimes against the norm or some type of different format is never a bad thing. The problem with it is you saw all of a sudden Travis goes to the highest bidder, and even though he's from Virginia, he'll pull in Utah. Like, he'll go to the highest bidder. He'll go... In Game of Arms, he was in Team Erie. Dude, you're not fucking from Pennsylvania. I mean, so as long as you have to go by your driver's license, and like 3 weight classes are good, you wouldn't want 5 guys, 6 guys. But I think it's kind of cool to see what the top state would be. But also the money would have to be good, because is Team California coming out for a couple $100s now? And to actually get the top 3 guys in those weight classes from each state, the money would have to be substantial, and you'd have to enforce the driver's license stuff. But I think it's kind of cool. Why not? It's different, and people are always asking, "What's the top state? What's the top state?" I mean, Missouri's an incredibly gifted state in quality and quantity. California, definitely quantity. Go all over the place. New York State. I mean, but who would really, like, if you really boil it down to the top 3, then it takes volume out of the equation, and really, who are the top 3? Who is the best state in terms of high quality? It'd be interesting to see. But the best would have to come out, and it would have to be enforced properly.
Yeah, governance becomes an issue there.
Yeah.
So we have another one, and this one is from Vincent Squires, Canadian guy. So I really enjoy your podcast. Watch it weekly on YouTube. The addition of the guests has been excellent. Recently, Travis Badgen posted a video demonstrating and explaining the posting top roll. So I don't know if both of you guys have watched that or not. I have. The question is, what's the best hook technique to counter the posting top roll, and what attributes are particularly important, i.e. fingers, pronation, cup, back pressure, etc. And tips for someone with a small hand and short forearm would be appreciated. Gabi, this one sounds like it's kind of right up your alley.
Yeah, the posting top roll for a defensive hooker, the posting top roll is the easiest top roll to stop. Now, of course, I could not stop Travis's posting top roll, but he's an exceptional... But also his posting top roll comes with a lot of crafty cheating and running and going before the go, and his shoulder, using momentum before the ref releases and all that stuff. But I think for a hooker, the worst thing is the low hand. The mat mask low hand top roller is an absolute nightmare, because hookers need their bottom fingers. Post top rolling does not really attack the bottom fingers. It attacks the meat of the hand, the general apex of the hand, and which makes it a little bit easier to stop if you have a good hand and wrist, and especially if you have good side pressure. The low hand is a very patient move that eventually wears away at the bottom fingers of the defensive hook puller. So I think, but I don't think most people know how to train hook containment. They do a lot of wrist curls, and I don't think wrist curls is the way to go. It's bottom finger containment, and you need a lot of side pressure. Not side pressure necessarily coming from your elbow, but that other linear side pressure coming from your pec. That's really going to get that top roller off center. You guys are top rollers. I'm sure when you do encounter a good defensive hooker, if there are many in your weight class, most guys tend to be levered pullers. But when you set up with your hand inside your shoulder, you feel great. As the ready go comes, and Ryan's an exceptional hitter, his timing is is amazing. You feel great, but if just before they're ready to go, that hook puller can take your hand a quarter inch off center towards him, and you're kind of go outside your shoulder, all of a sudden you can't use that momentum swing on your hit. I find top rollers hate that. Top rollers hate losing their pronation, and they hate losing center of the table or getting their center pushed off via the hooker's pec. But anyway, yeah, so I think posting top roll is the easiest thing for me to stop. And also, if someone really wants to post high, of course we're talking standard rules, all I got to do is bury my grip a little bit lower on his hand, and I cannot be top rolled by anyone. There's not a man alive that can post me in the setup if I don't want him to post me. I just bear down, and he's got to get under my thumb. And I'm talking no capping, getting quite low on his hand. So then he's reverted to some type of counter hook, but my hook will get set. So when I get to the table with a guy and he's posting, if I don't think I can straight up stop him, I just drop my hand a little bit right across the bone of his pronator and bear down. And unless he's super quick and can get me before I engage, it's most likely going to stop in the hook at some point. But a low hand top roller, for me, is the nightmare, because they're patient and they're just going to focus on those back fingers. And even if you get the hit, even if you get position, they won't release. Which is why I think Matt Mast's move against a hooker is absolutely a nightmare. I mean, Todd Hutchins got him only because he had more side pressure, but Todd Hutchins' wrist went back every time. Low hand top rolling is the way to go. Posting top roll, if you know to stop it, is easy. And it's also easy to get the strap against a posting top roller because he's going straight back fast. So if you need the strap, which a hooker can stop the match quicker in the straps than he can without it, you're able to get your straps easier than a low hand top roller that doesn't want to let go of your hand.